This channel is for the man who stayed strong when no one noticed, the man who carried responsibility quietly and slowly disappeared. Here, strength is questioned, silence is exposed, and the cost of being the strong one is finally spoken out loud. There's a war happening inside you right now. Not dramatic, not loud, just constant. You wake up wanting to change, and by noon you've sabotaged yourself. You set a goal and immediately find reasons why it won't work. You know what you need to do, but you can't make yourself do it. And the worst part is you think this is laziness, lack of discipline, or weakness. It's not. You're not broken, you're not unmotivated, and you're not failing. You're fighting yourself, and in that fight, both sides lose. Let me show you what this actually looks like. You decide you're going to start working out. You're motivated, you have a plan, you even buy the equipment. Then the morning comes, and something in you just refuses. Not because you're lazy, but because another part of you is actively working against the decision. You know you should have that difficult conversation, set that boundary, or make that change. But every time you move toward it, internal resistance rises like a wall. You talk yourself out of it. You convince yourself it's not the right time. You find perfectly logical reasons to wait. And you believe those reasons because they sound rational. But here's what's really happening. Your conscious mind wants growth, change, and progress, but your unconscious mind wants safety, familiarity, and survival. And when these two parts disagree, you don't get compromise, you get paralysis. The brain doesn't care about your goals, it cares about keeping you alive. And to your brain, anything unfamiliar registers as potential danger. So when you try to change, when you try to grow, when you try to become someone different, your brain interprets that as threat, and it fights back.
This is why you can logically know something is good for you and still not do it. This is why you can want something desperately and sabotage it repeatedly. This is why discipline feels like dragging yourself through mud instead of natural momentum. You're not weak, you're in conflict. Carl Jung called this internal war the battle between the ego and the shadow. The ego is who you think you should be, the identity you're trying to build. The shadow is everything you've rejected, repressed, or denied about yourself. And the shadow doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It fights from the inside. You want to be disciplined, but you've rejected your need for rest. So every time you push toward productivity, your body rebels with exhaustion. You want to be confident, but you've repressed your fear of rejection. So every time you move toward risk, anxiety floods in and stops you. You want to be independent, but you've denied your need for connection. So you sabotage relationships before they can abandon you. This isn't failure. This is your system protecting you from what it perceives as danger. But protection and growth can't coexist. You can't expand and stay safe at the same time. And as long as your unconscious mind thinks change equals threat, you will sabotage yourself every single time. Here's the part no one tells you. You can't win this fight. If you try to overpower your unconscious resistance with willpower, you'll lose. Willpower is a limited resource. Your unconscious is infinite. It will wait until you're tired, stressed, or distracted, and then it will take control. That's why you start strong every Monday and collapse by Wednesday. You can't shame yourself into change either. Every time you call yourself lazy, undisciplined, or weak, you're giving your shadow more ammunition. You're confirming its belief that you're not capable, which makes it fight harder to keep you safe by keeping you stuck. And you definitely can't logic your way through this.
Your unconscious doesn't speak logic. It speaks emotion, symbol, and pattern. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about whether you felt safe the last time you tried to change. And if you didn't, it will make sure you don't try again. So how do you stop fighting yourself? You stop treating your resistance as the enemy. You stop trying to overpower, shame, or ignore the part of you that's scared. Instead, you listen to it. Because your resistance isn't random, it's information. Every time you sabotage yourself, there's a reason, not an excuse, a reason. Your unconscious mind is trying to protect you from something it believes is dangerous. Maybe it's afraid of failure, so it stops you from trying. Maybe it's afraid of success, because success brings visibility and judgment. Maybe it's afraid of change, because the last time you changed, something bad happened. You don't need more discipline, you need more awareness. You need to understand what you're actually afraid of so you can address the real threat instead of fighting the symptom. Because you're not sabotaging your goals, you're protecting yourself from what achieving those goals might cost. Let me give you an example. A man decides he wants to lose weight. He starts strong, makes progress, and then suddenly starts eating everything in sight. He thinks he lacks discipline, but that's not what's happening. His unconscious remembers that the last time he was fit, people expected more from him. They commented on his body, they gave him attention he didn't want, they treated him differently. So his unconscious associates being fit with loss of control, and it sabotages his progress to keep him safe in invisibility. He's not fighting his diet, he's fighting the fear of being seen. Once he understands that, he's not fighting himself anymore. He's addressing the actual problem, the fear of visibility. Another man wants to start a business but can't make himself take action.
He thinks he's afraid of failure, but the real fear is success. Because if he succeeds, he'll outgrow his current life, his current relationships, his current identity. And his unconscious knows that growth means loss, so it keeps him stuck to prevent the pain of leaving behind what's familiar. This is the shift that changes everything. You stop asking, "Why can't I just do this?" and start asking, "What am I actually afraid of?" You stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. And when you understand the fear, you can work with it instead of against it. You don't overpower resistance, you negotiate with it. You say to the part of you that's scared, "I see you, I hear you, and I'm going to take care of you while we do this anyway." You acknowledge the fear without letting it control you. You move forward with the resistance, not in spite of it. This is what integration looks like. It's not eliminating the parts of you that resist. It's bringing them into alignment with your conscious goals. It's making your unconscious feel safe enough to let you grow. And that doesn't happen through force. It happens through compassion. You have to treat yourself the way you treat a scared child. Not with harshness, not with shame, not with demands, but with patience, understanding, and reassurance. You have to show your unconscious that change doesn't mean death. It means evolution, and evolution is safe. The strongest men aren't the ones who never feel resistance. They're the ones who feel it and move anyway, not by overpowering it, but by understanding it. They know that internal conflict isn't weakness, it's information. And they use that information to grow instead of staying stuck. So the next time you sabotage yourself, don't call it failure, call it a signal. Ask, what part of me is scared right now? What am I trying to protect myself from? What do I believe will happen if I succeed? And then address that fear directly.
Because once your unconscious mind understands that you're not going to abandon it, that growth doesn't mean loss, that change doesn't mean danger, it will stop fighting you. And when that happens, discipline doesn't feel like dragging yourself anymore. It feels like alignment. You stop fighting yourself when you stop treating yourself like the enemy, when you stop demanding perfection and start offering understanding, when you stop shaming resistance and start listening to it. Because your resistance isn't trying to ruin your life, it's trying to save it, based on old information. Update the information and the resistance dissolves. You're not at war with yourself, you're just operating on outdated programming. And you can rewrite that programming not through force, but through awareness, compassion, and patience. The hero's journey isn't about defeating your shadow, it's about integrating it. It's about bringing all the rejected, repressed, denied parts of yourself into conscious alignment so they stop sabotaging you from the inside. And when that integration happens, you don't become someone else, you become whole. Stop fighting yourself, not because you should surrender, but because the fight itself is the problem. The moment you stop treating your resistance as the enemy and start treating it as a messenger, everything shifts. You're not broken, you're not weak, you're not failing. You're just in conflict, and conflict resolves through understanding, not war. Next episode, what your resistance is actually trying to tell you and how to decode it. If you've been at war with yourself and you're finally ready for peace, you'll understand what comes next.